Stop waiting for a fair shake. In the real world, fair is a word used by people who are about to lose. You've been told that if you work hard and keep your head down, you'll be taken care of. That's the biggest lie ever sold. While you're playing by the handbook, the person sitting across from you is looking for the fastest way to take what you have. Machiavelli didn't care about what looked good on paper. He cared about what worked on the pavement. He knew that the man who tries to be a saint in a city of sinners is just asking to be robbed. The first thing you have to swallow is this. People aren't good or bad. They are predictable. Most of your problems come from the fact that you keep expecting people to act better than they are. You want the world to be a place where hard work is always rewarded, where friends never lie, and where the person who screams the loudest is the one in the wrong. But Machiavelli didn't write for the world of your dreams. He wrote for the street. He said, "A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good." If you walk into a shark tank wearing a suit made of steaks, don't get mad when you get bitten. Think about the last time you were loyal to a boss who didn't give a damn about you. You stayed late, you covered for everyone, and you took the hit for mistakes that weren't yours. You were living in a fantasy world where merit and kindness would eventually pay off. Then, the moment a budget cut happened, you were the first one out the door. You felt betrayed. But the truth is, you betrayed yourself by ignoring the reality of the situation. Your boss wasn't a villain. They were just a fox protecting their own skin. Stop looking at what people say and start looking at what they need. When you understand that every person is a walking bundle of self-interest, you stop being disappointed. You start positioning yourself so that their self-interest aligns with yours. If you're in a neighborhood where things are getting tense, don't talk about how it should be safe to walk at night. Look at the reality of the shadows. If you're in a business deal, don't assume the contract is enough. Assume the other side is already looking for a way to break it. This isn't being cynical. It's being bulletproof. People who live in the ought to be are easy to manipulate because you can lead them around by their morals. People who live in the is are impossible to fool because they see the trap before the bait is even set. Strip away the shoulds from your vocabulary. Instead of saying he shouldn't do that, ask yourself, why is he doing that, and how does it help him? Once you see the world through the lens of cold, hard utility, the fog clears. You stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the one who pulls the strings. You don't have to be cruel, but you must be awake. If you stay awake while everyone else is dreaming of a fair world, you'll be the one holding the keys when the dream ends. The second thing is you have to stop being a one-trick pony. Most people pick a lane and stay in it until they hit a wall. You have the tough guys who think every problem is a nail because they're a hammer, and you have the smart guys who try to outthink every threat until they get punched in the mouth. Machiavelli knew that a lion can't protect himself from traps, and a fox can't defend himself from wolves. If you're only a lion, you're too loud to see the pit someone dug for you. If you're only a fox, you're too light to stop someone from simply crushing you. You have to be both, switching your skin the second the wind changes. Think about that person in your circle who's always keeping it real and getting into arguments. They think they're being strong, but they're actually just easy to bait. Their enemies know exactly how to make them explode, and once they lose their cool, they lose their leverage. On the flip side, look at the person who's always playing politics, whispering in corners, but never standing their ground. When the pressure gets high, they fold because they have no teeth. To shatter this cycle, you must learn to mask your strength with craft and your craft with strength. When someone tries to corner you with a bad deal, don't just roar and walk away. That lets them know they've hit a nerve. Instead, play the fox. Smile, ask questions, and lead them into a position where they accidentally give up their own leverage. Then, the moment they are exposed, hit them with the force of a lion. Imagine you're dealing with a bully at work or on the street who thinks they can push you around because you've been nice. They've sized you up as a fox, someone who avoids conflict. They keep pushing because they think there's no price to pay. The move to end this is to drop the act instantly. Give them a cold, hard dose of reality that shows them exactly what it will cost to keep coming at you. You don't need to shout. You just need to show them the trap you've already set. Maybe it's a paper trail of their mistakes, or maybe it's a social alliance they didn't know you had. By the time they see the lion's teeth, the fox has already closed the cage door. You become mentally untouchable when people can't figure out which version of you they're dealing with. If they expect a fight, give them a riddle. If they expect a bribe, give them a war. When you are unpredictable, you are uncontrollable. The third thing is you have to stop chasing the high of being liked. Most people spend their lives trying to be the good guy because they think popularity is a shield. It's not. It's a target. Machiavelli didn't mince words. Love is held by a chain of obligation which, because men are wretched, is broken whenever it serves their purpose. But fear is maintained by a dread of punishment which never fails. If people love you, they'll show up when the sun is out and the drinks are free. The moment things get dark and they have to choose between their skin and yours, they'll drop you before the sentence is finished. But if they fear the consequences of crossing you, they'll stay loyal even when they hate your guts. Think about that friend or co-worker who's always asking for one more favor. You say yes because you want to be cool or helpful. You think you're building a bank of goodwill. Then, the one time you actually need something back, they're suddenly too busy, or it's complicated. They didn't respect your kindness. They just saw it as a weakness they could exploit. They didn't help you because they didn't fear what would happen if they said no. To flip the power dynamic, you have to stop being the infinite source of yes. You start setting hard boundaries with teeth. The next time they overstep, you don't just get annoyed. You make it cost them something. Their access to you, their reputation, or a privilege they take for granted. When they realize that your no has a sting, they'll start treating your yes like gold. Imagine you're running a team, or even just trying to keep your household in order. You try the buddy approach, hoping they'll work hard because they like you. Instead, they start showing up late, doing half the work, and talking back. They aren't trying to be mean. They just don't have a reason to be disciplined. The strike to fix this is to stop trying to be their friend and start being their boss. You enforce the rules with zero exceptions. You don't scream, you just act. When they see that failure results in immediate cold consequences, like a loss of status or a formal reprimand, the atmosphere changes instantly. They might not invite you to grab a drink, but they will hit their deadlines. People will forgive you for being tough, but they will never forgive you for being weak. You become untouchable when people know that crossing your line isn't a gamble. It's a guaranteed loss. The fourth thing is that you have to stop being an open book. Most people think being real means telling everyone exactly what they're thinking, what they're planning, and what they're afraid of. They think it builds trust. In reality, it just builds a target on your back. Machiavelli knew that the great pretender and dissembler is the one who wins because people are simple. They usually believe what they see right in front of them. If you show your cards, even your friends will eventually use that information to get a step ahead of you. To be mentally untouchable, you have to master the art of the smokescreen. You don't lie for no reason. You hide your intent, so no one can sabotage a move they don't see coming. Think about that person at work who's always talking about their big idea or the new job they're interviewing for. They want the ego boost of sounding successful today. But by tomorrow, someone has already whispered to the boss, or a rival has stolen the concept and pitched it as their own. They got played because they couldn't keep their mouth shut. The way to move in silence is to talk about everything except what actually matters. Share secrets that don't mean anything. Complain about a problem that isn't really bothering you. When you give people fake information to chew on, they stop looking for the real stuff. While they're busy analyzing your distractions, you're miles down the road finishing the real task. Imagine you're in a heated negotiation. maybe for a new car, a house, or a raise. The other side is watching your eyes, your hands, and your tone. If you look desperate, the price goes up. If you look too excited, the perks disappear. They are reading you like a map. The tactic to flip the power is to become a blank wall. Act like you could walk away in the next 30 seconds and never look back. Mention a competitor, not because you like them, but to plant the seed of doubt. When they can't figure out what you actually want or how much you're willing to pay, they lose their lead. They start bidding against themselves just to keep you in the room. You win the game by making sure you're the only one who knows where the finish line is. If they can't see the path you're walking, they can't dig a hole for you to fall into. The fifth thing is that you have to stop being nice when it's time to be tough. Most people think that if they have to deliver bad news or handle a conflict, they should do it slowly to soften the blow. They think they're being kind, but they're actually just being cruel and reckless. Machiavelli was clear. Injuries ought to be done all at one time, so that, being tasted less, they offend less. If you pull a bandage off slowly, it hurts more and takes longer. If you try to push someone out of your life or your business in stages, you're just giving them a calendar for their revenge. You're letting the wound fester, giving them time to gather allies, steal your files, or poison the minds of everyone around you. Think about that toxic friend, or the employee who just isn't cutting it. You've been dropping hints for months. You've been distancing yourself or giving them gentle feedback. You think you're being a good person, but all you've done is make them paranoid and bitter. They spend every day wondering when the hammer is going to drop, and while they wait, they're talking trash about you to anyone who will listen. They're looking for your weaknesses because you've signaled that a fight is coming, but you haven't finished it yet. The path to total peace is to stop the bleeding instantly. You don't talk about it for the 10th time. You don't give one last chance that you know they'll waste. You make the call, you cut the ties, and you do it in a way that leaves them no room to negotiate or strike back. Imagine you're finally ending a bad business partnership or a relationship that's dragging you down. Instead of a long, drawn-out drama filled with late-night texts and closure meetings, you walk in with a finished plan. You have the papers ready, the locks changed, and the boundaries set. It's a shock, yeah, but it's a one-day shock. By the time they wake up from the surprise, the situation is already over, and you've moved on to your next project. They can't stay mad at a ghost, and they can't fight a war that's already been lost. When you strike all at once, you take away their ability to plan. You don't leave a trail of breadcrumbs for them to follow you into your future. You become untouchable because you don't leave survivors in your wake who are still waiting for the other shoe to drop. The sixth thing is you have to learn how to muzzle your own ego. Most people think that showing off how smart, fast, or talented they are is the best way to get ahead. They want to be the star of every meeting and the person with all the answers. They think their boss or the leader of their group will be impressed and promote them for it. Machiavelli knew the opposite was true. If you make the person above you feel small, they won't admire you. They will hunt you. People in power are often the most insecure people in the room. When you make them look like a fool by being too good, you aren't proving your value. You're proving you're a threat that needs to be removed. Think about that time you corrected your manager in front of the whole team. You were 100% right, and you probably saved the project some money. You walked away feeling like a hero. But a week later, you noticed you weren't invited to the big strategy lunch. A month later, your best ideas started getting shot down for no reason. You didn't realize that by helping, you wounded their pride. They didn't see a helper. They saw someone who was coming for their job. The move to secure your spot is to make your brilliance look like their brilliance. If you have a world-changing idea, don't scream it from the rooftops. Instead, ask your boss for advice on a concept that just happens to be your perfect plan. Let them tweak it, let them bless it, and let them take the credit when it works. Imagine you're the most talented person in a startup or a local crew. You're out-earning and out-thinking the guy who started the whole thing. The strategy to stay untouchable is to play the role of the loyal student. Give the master the spotlight, the awards, and the ego boost. While they are busy enjoying the applause you helped create, you are the one becoming indispensable. You get the real power, the access, the keys, and the knowledge, without any of the envy that comes with the crown. By the time you're ready to move on or take over, you've already built your own kingdom in the background, and they'll be too happy with their own success to see you coming. If you keep the master feeling like a giant, they'll never look down to see who's actually holding up the ladder. The seventh thing is that you have to stop being a statue in a world that's constantly moving. Most people get a little bit of success, and then they freeze. They think that because one trick worked for them in 2020, it's going to work forever. They fall in love with their own way of doing things, and they treat their habits like a religion. Machiavelli had a different take. For example, the man who is always cautious will win when the times call for caution, but he'll be destroyed the second the world demands someone bold. To be mentally untouchable, you can't have a fixed shape. You have to be water. Think about the guy you know who's still trying to use old-school muscle in a world that's moved to digital and data. He's out there trying to stare people down or raise his voice to get his way, but everyone else is just looking at their phones and blocking his number. He's not being loyal to his roots. He's being a fossil. While he's busy complaining that people aren't what they used to be, the world is passing him by. The shift to stay ahead is to watch the wind before it even hits your face. If you see the crowd moving toward a new platform, a new way of talking, or a new way of making money, don't argue with it. Don't say it's stupid or soft. Just learn the rules of the new game faster than anyone else. Imagine you're in a business that's suddenly getting hit by a new competitor or a change in the law. Your partners want to double down on the old plan because they're scared to admit they're wrong. The pivot to survive is to leave the sinking ship before the water reaches your knees. You don't owe any strategy your loyalty. If being the nice guy isn't working in a new environment, become the hard nose. If being the aggressive one is suddenly making you a target, learn how to be the quiet observer. You aren't being fake, you're being a survivor. The only thing that stays the same in this world is that everything changes. If you're the one who can change your skin, while everyone else is still wearing last year's clothes, you'll never be caught and you'll never be fooled. You become untouchable because you're always one step into the future while everyone else is arguing about the past. The eighth thing is you have to stop confusing friendship with safety. Most people think that because they've known someone for 10 years, or because they've shared a few drinks and some laughs, that person is a permanent shield. They think loyalty is a blood oath that never expires. Machiavelli was a realist. He knew that men will change their masters the second they think they can do better for themselves. It's not that people are inherently evil, it's that self-preservation is the strongest instinct on the planet. If you bank your entire future on someone else's loyalty, you are handing them the remote control to your life. To be mentally untouchable, you have to stop looking for loyalty and start looking for leverage. Think about a guy you grew up with. You give him a job at your company because he's your brother. You trust him with the books, the clients, and the secrets. Then a competitor offers him double the salary and a fancy title. Suddenly, that brotherhood starts to look like a cage to him. He doesn't want to hurt you, but he wants to help himself more. If you haven't built a system where it's in his best interest to stay, he's gone, and he's taking your secrets with him. The way to secure your circle is to make sure the people around you gain more by being with you than by betraying you. You don't ask for loyalty. You create a situation where leaving you would be the dumbest financial or social move they could ever make. If you're tired of being the one who gets played while others get ahead, it's time to stop watching from the sidelines. The world doesn't reward the person with the biggest heart. It rewards the one with the sharpest strategy. Smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stop being a target. We're dropping the raw truth every week on how to read the room, mask your moves, and stay 3 steps ahead of anyone trying to use you. Drop a comment below with the word untouchable if you're done playing the victim and ready to start playing the game. Don't just watch this, use it. Because if you aren't the one pulling the strings, Someone else is already doing it for you. See you in the next one.